All right, we are talking 658 Division Two with the man of the hour, Diggsy Diggs. This district was dominated kind of by Midlothian Heritage, who only gave up 92 points last year through their district games, and they played great defensively. They played great offensively. They took the title. Talk to me about this district. Is it something that the Jags are going to be dominant again, or can Crandall or Ennis and some of these teams creep up on?
I think Midlothian Heritage is the beginning and end, the alpha and the omega of this district. They lost to Marshall last year, kind of a little bit of a surprise. But I think this year you got to replace the quarterback. But Zacho Davis is just
Zacho.
that player. The player that we're going to be talking about all year in the campfire. He's going to be a fantasy guy. He is just Mr. Everything, and I think he is going to be, my preseason favorite for district MVP. Last year, he had 1,150 yards rushing and 20 touchdowns. All he does, Ward, is find that end zone, and I think he's going to continue to do that. But he served as receiver last year, quarterback, and running back. I don't know Midlothian Heritage. We're not at the spring football here in May. I'm not going and checking out and spying on them. But I think he could just be that kind of a player who could just do a little bit of everything and be that utility knife for Midlothian Heritage. But they got wide receiver Camden Marker coming back. But what I really like about Midlothian Heritage, like you talked about it in your primer, is that they are a really good defensive team. This is a team that gave up only about 10 points last year, a game in district play. And it started kind of ugly for them last year, Ward. If you remember that game against Argyle and Stephenville, we kind of wrote them off and said, 0-2. And it may look like that again this year, to be honest. I think Argyle may have a field day with them because when it comes to the region, I think Midlothian Heritage is not quite elite, but their defense is getting better. They return a lot coming back. So I think defense and Davis is going to be two factors. That's why I've got them as my district champion. But Owen Minucci and Luke McCain are really solid defensive players that they've got coming back. I like Midlothian Heritage at the top of the district, and I don't even think it's close. I think they got a couple of touchdown gap between them and the rest of the squads. But I think, Ward, that's when it really gets interesting in this district because I think from 2 to 5, you've got a bunch of bunched up teams who are going to be competing, and one of them is not going to make it, just like we kind of talked about a couple of weeks ago with District 3-5A and 4-5A. I think we're going to have a really talented, potentially ranked team not make it in this playoffs. And last year we talked about Kaufman. Kaufman was my team. We talked about Ty Burleson. I was like, okay, watch out for Kaufman. And Kaufman gave us everything that we could ask for there. And they got a really good wide receiver in Aljor Miles, who was 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. And I think he might be overshadowed by the Crandall wide receiver in Jeremiah Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
But Kaufman is a team that I think is going to be right there competing. If they can get a quarterback in there that can replace Burleson, I think Kaufman has a really good chance to get back into the playoffs. Elijah Rose had 600 yards and 7 touchdowns last year. But one of the stories of last year was Ennis and kind of the fall from grace. They had Grayson Harris and everything else, but there were some struggles and a lot of internal struggles from what I'm talking about because Sam Harrell was starting to struggle in health, and everybody wants to rally behind him. But at the same time, when you're focused on that and not focused on the team, there's a little bit of an issue. But Ward, let's talk a little bit about a guy named Don Drake. We haven't talked about Don Drake in a while, but I fell in love with Don Drake. Me and Don have a good relationship because he was over there at McKinney Boyd in the early last decade, just making my life miserable, Ward. Don Drake made my life miserable by taking these McKinney Boyd Broncos and giving them this edge and just making my Plano East Panthers, got to work in Plano East in our 5A Division 2, just giving them all the grief. They're giving them the business. And if Don Drake takes that style to Ennis with the talent that they've got over there, I like Ennis. I'm not saying anything bad about Coach Harrell. Coach Harrell is a legend, first ballot Hall of Famer. But Coach Drake has that little edge to him. And if Ennis gets that rub on them, Ennis is going to be a team to keep an eye on. I like Coach Drake.
Okay, and Ennis is a team and a fan base that is itching to get back. I mean, they can't take but 1-2 years down before it starts getting really crazy down there in Ennis, and that they take all their athletic budget and head over to that drag strip and watch drag racing or something over there instead. But you kind of glazed over it, man. I want to talk more about the Offensive Player of the Year, Jeremy Douglas, and what he might do for Crandall. That's Ted Madden's Crandall squad. Talk to me about him and how he may have them fighting for another spot.
touchdown Teddy, over there, and he's going to get to shoot Jeremiah Douglas for the next 2 years. But their quarterback and running back, are gone. So it's like, what is Jeremiah Douglas? Can he throw the ball? Can he run the ball as well? It looks like he can do a little bit of everything, but how are you going to find him that offensive production? Because he's probably one of the best players in the district other than Davis, we talked about with Midlothian Heritage. So how can you get him the ball? And what is Crandall going to do to replace that offensive line that they lost, and the quarterback and the really good running back? But Timothy Pace is coming back at running back. He wasn't their main running back, but he had some reps last year. So there are some questions for me. But Ennis, they got their quarterback coming back, and Xander Hinton, he had 2,000 yards last year. That is not a question for Ennis. 22 touchdowns. They got Wendarius Jones. I think Ennis is ready to take a step up as well, and I think they may be taking it at Crandall's expense. So who's going to come out of that? Ennis has been the traditional powerhouses, but one thing we've learned, Ward, is Kaufman County. And you're like, what are we talking about, Kaufman County? Kaufman County is like the fastest growing county in the world or something. I keep seeing the Forney people talking about, well, Kaufman County is the fastest growing county. This is why we're getting all of our talent at North Forney and at Forney. Well, that's probably true, but Crandall and Kaufman are also the beneficiaries of that 175 corridor, which I know you hate driving down, Ward. You're like, that's East Texas. Let's get a spinoff show to deal with 175. You won't have any of it, Ward. No. But as Kaufman County continues to grow, that is really a growing talent base as well. So Crandall and Kaufman are getting that depth and getting that growth. But also with that means they're going up the ladder. And just like with Forney and North Forney, they may be in 6A before we know it. But Terrell is a team you need to put some respect on. When they got Cooper Kennemer coming back, when they got Roderick Hambrick Jr., Roderick Hambrick Jr. is coming back. 700 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns. Cooper Kennemer, Julian Ashley, the freshman, is going to be a player you need to keep an eye on. It's going to be a Kaufman County team that's going to be at the bottom half of the district, Ward.
Go ahead, buddy boy. Talk to me about the other three.
What a great football name, Nile Rivers. That's their best player coming back. I like Coach Orr over there. He's over at Hebron. He's part of that extended Hebron, from Coach Braswell, may he rest in peace, rest in power, as some people like to say. That Hebron, if you're a coordinator at Hebron, you're basically going to be a head coach at some point. That's just kind of how it works. We even saw Louisville lose some of their coordinators to head coaching positions. Talk about that when we talk about Plano East again, and McKinney Boyd and who Don Drake left to be later on. But I think Mesquite Potteet's going to struggle in year one. I think Corsicana is going to struggle in year one. And Greenville is in year two. Corsicana and Greenville are in year two. They are both on their second year of coaches. Their programs are going to get better. I think we're going to have more competitive games. But Mesquite Potteet was that team that almost got to the playoffs. They competed. I think it could be Corsicana this year that could get up to maybe that 5-6 spot, depending on how things go. I know Eugene Rogers got a raise. He got to the athletic director position last month, and I think that they're going to be a little bit better this year. Corsicana is one of those teams, just like Ennis, that you talk about. They are a program that is just ready. They're ready to win. They're hungry to win, and I think they have to get better this year. Otherwise, Eugene Rogers may not want to be there anymore because they may start turning on him. So I think Corsicana is going to get better. This is a fun district, Ward, because you got some really good teams right in the middle tier that are all going to be battling. And it could be a situation like last year with Walnut Grove that just came out of nowhere, made the playoffs. Corsicana could be that team. I'm not going to predict it, Ward. I'm not going to put my stock on it, but it could happen.
It could. Let's talk about who you think will. I mean, you've talked so much about Terrell now. They better be in the top 4. So let me hear your 1 through 8.
I got Midlothian Heritage number 1, Ennis number 2, Crandall number 3, Terrell number 4, Kaufman number 5, Corsicana number 6, Mesquite Potteet number 7, and Greenville number 8. And you do not disrespect Terrell. I want lots of video on Terrell on this campfire.
Terrell made it. They made it to the top 4. I've got you, man.